Can somebody please enlighten me on what on earth is going on at Mercedes? Is there a reason why they are delaying the contract extensions of both Kimi Antonelli and George Russell? Are they playing with fire? Is this team stupid? Is it ridiculous? Somebody needs to tell me what on earth is going on at Mercedes. I want to know what on earth Toto Wolff is smoking over there, because the fact that we are, after 10 races in the 2025 season, we have no extended contract for George Russell, no extended contract for Kimi Antonelli. I am absolutely baffled. I mean, what will it take for George Russell to get an extension there? What's it going to take? Why are they delaying so long? Why is this taking forever? This should not be news that is earth-shattering and groundbreaking. George Russell extending a contract at Mercedes should just be a normal day at the office. This should just be normal bread and butter stuff. But instead, we are being treated, and George Russell, in fact, is being treated as if he's a foreigner into the team. This is a guy who's been there for years, and before actually getting the main seat, he was obviously one of their drivers, reserve drivers under the Mercedes group. And yet we are in this situation right now where George Russell is without a drive in 2026 at the time of recording. And it must be like, if they're saying this, the Canadian Grand Prix has nothing to do with this, then explain to me why. Why hasn't the Canadian Grand Prix made any impact on the situation? Why hasn't his performances this season? George Russell has been nothing short of outstanding this season. Let's make it clear. The Mercedes has not been great. The Mercedes hasn't been great for a long period of time. But let me tell you, George Russell has held his own and he's given that team some integrity during its dark days. Remember, this is the man who was there with Lewis Hamilton, okay? And in qualifying sessions, I was seeing George Russell dunk on Lewis Hamilton. He's probably the reason why Lewis Hamilton left Mercedes and thought, I need to have something new. I need new pastures with my Formula One career. And so the fact that he's gone to Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton that being, George Russell is sitting here thinking, right, I am the number one driver. This is my time. This is my time to shine. And yet I've got a situation where Mercedes are dilly-dallying with my contract. Like, what are they busy getting dealt with here? What are they too busy doing? I mean, the fact that they were courting Max Verstappen over the winter, the fact that they were talking about Max Verstappen even now, honestly, Toto Wolff is quite a strange one. George Russell and Kimi Antonelli are out of contract at the end of 2025. Kimi Antonelli is an absolute superstar. This is a man, after 10 races, has got a pole position, and he's also got on the podium in Formula One. I don't know what else you need to add or need to be worried about or concerned about, because I can assure you one thing: Mercedes are not stalling these contracts because of performances, because if it is, I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know what Mercedes are smoking. They cannot be serious if it's performance-based. It's absolutely not performance-based. The two drivers have been nothing short of outstanding. They were never going to be a team fighting for the championship this year. They were never going to be a team fighting for the Constructors' Championship this year. But yet, we've got a race win, we've got a pole position, we've got podium business. How many times this season have we seen George Russell in a Formula One race and then end up P3 or end up P4? And we're asking, where did that come from? What's happened there? Do you remember the hype that Kimi Antonelli had last year in terms of him coming into Formula One? Do you remember the way Toto Wolff spoke about this man? You wouldn't think it's the same guy that he spoke about last year. Kimi Antonelli had all sorts of pressure, all sorts of spotlight. The guy is 18 years of age and he comes in with all this pressure, and my God, he's lived up to the billing. The rookies this year have been absolutely top notch. Let's have it right, okay? They've all been phenomenal. But Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes, albeit the Mercedes, but the Mercedes nonetheless, right? It's going to be a lot of pressure to fulfill what Mercedes' potential is. And Kimi Antonelli is doing an absolute phenomenal job. I don't know what we're discussing here. I don't know what the delay must be. I don't know what's going on. But what on earth is going on with Mercedes? Toto Wolff, I don't know who you need to talk to. I don't know who needs to talk to Toto Wolff, in fact. Somebody needs to knock on the door and say, listen, whatever your doubts are, whatever it is you're looking at elsewhere, you've got to get this signed. You've got to get these two drivers signed. This notion that both George Russell and Kimi Antonelli into the summer months are not with the contract with Mercedes in 2026. And if you hear the way George Russell's talking, in interviews, it's not even like, oh yeah, we're working behind the scenes to get the deal done. You know, we're dotting a few I's, crossing a few T's. It would make sense if that was the case. But we're not hearing that kind of language. The way George Russell is talking, he's saying, look, at the end of the day, if I perform, then let my performance do the talking. If they want to keep me here, then I've got to show and I've got to give them no reason but to sign me again. But hang on, Mercedes, you've seen George Russell for these last couple of years. You've seen him time in, year out, weekend after weekend, producing such top quality performances. So what else could they be looking at? What else could they be searching for in terms of, what's going to be the thing that takes it over the edge? Because if it's not a race win in Canada, and bear this in mind, Russell got pole position last year in Canada, right? He got pole position again in Canada this year and won the race, battled Max Verstappen, by the way, 4-time Formula One world champion, 4 championships in a row, our current Formula One world champion. We're not talking about he's dealing with dibby, because even for the Lewis Hamilton haters out there, let's just say for example, Lewis Hamilton is washed, he's finished, right? So you might say George Russell dealt with him, no problem. But Hamilton's racecraft, by the way, over those years at Mercedes, you could say what you want about the qualifying, but the guy's race pace was brilliant, and he salvaged a lot of what took place in qualifying. But we are now talking about the guy going head to head with Max Verstappen. 2 cars that are not the best in the grid this year. The McLarens, okay, fine, they're gone clear, but George Russell's still getting a race win. Kimi Antonelli still getting a pole position. These guys are getting on the podium. A double Mercedes podium? Come on, people. What on earth is going on over at Mercedes? I need Mercedes fans to comment in the comment section below. Tell me what is going on. What is the logical reason why in June, heading into July, that we have not got new contracts for both George Russell and Kimi Antonelli? Because I can't understand why this would be the case. I don't know what else he needs to do. And quite frankly, I think it's an absolute disgrace that these 2 drivers haven't got new contracts. I don't care what the plans are, what the visions are and everything else. And of course, what do I know? Well, I'll tell you what, I know what I see with my eyes. I know what I see race weekend after race weekend. I know what I see in the qualifying sessions. And I know when I look at Mercedes and I look at the 2 drivers that they've got, that these are outstanding drivers. These are phenomenal drivers. But instead I'm hearing, Toto Wolff having a loving over Max Verstappen. A guy, by the way, they could have got back in the day before he went to Red Bull. Did you know when Max was like a toddler, they could have got Max Verstappen, Mercedes could have got Max Verstappen, but they're too busy dilly-dallying? Funny that, because they're dilly-dallying right now. And Max Verstappen went to Red Bull, and as you know, the rest was more than history. And then Toto Wolff, remember, the Red Bull and Mercedes clash, the Max Verstappen versus Hamilton clash, the whole thing, like it was ugly. The beef was great for the viewer, but it was ugly. And I'm sure Mercedes were hating that moment. And then as time has gone on, I mean, the way they've even Lewis just had to make his own decision and say, look, I'm going to Ferrari, I'm starting things over. Because he saw the writing on the wall at Mercedes. Mercedes were catering to George Russell all this time. And now I'm looking at a situation where, I don't know if they're catering to one or the other, but there is no confidence that I'm getting from either side of the camp about both drivers. Look, we're loving Antonelli when he's on that podium, when he's drinking the champagne. He's 18 in the UK, in Europe, it's fine for all the American viewers out there. But the idea that we are still sitting here deliberating and all that kind of thing, like that is just mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling to me. And it's still, you're too busy courting Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen going to Mercedes, guys, I'm not gonna lie, it's a pipe dream. Under no circumstances will Max Verstappen go to Mercedes. It's just not going to happen. But you know what can happen? George Russell signing elsewhere. Kimi Antonelli signing elsewhere. Because let me paint you a picture for Kimi Antonelli, for example, right? Italian man, Bologna man, right? If the Hamilton experiment, if you will, at Ferrari isn't working and Ferrari decide, now this is far-fetched, but Ferrari decide, we're going to drop Lewis Hamilton and we're going to bring in one of our own. We're going to bring in one of our own in Kimi Antonelli, Italian man in an Italian car. It's just a match made in heaven. We know one day Kimi Antonelli will drive for Ferrari. It's simple. But it could happen now. It could happen a lot earlier than we think. Because Kimi Antonelli could, if you're a Ferrari person, you could be looking at Kimi Antonelli as a young Charles Leclerc when he joined. Where it's just like it fits like a glove. This could be perfect. And yet we're seeing that if Mercedes isn't going to tie him down, well, I'll tell you what, you won't take much to persuade Kimi Antonelli to join Ferrari. Of course you wouldn't. So he's 18 years old and look at the performances he's doing. He's doing an outstanding job. I have no idea why Mercedes are dilly-dallying. I'll talk about George Russell. What if, I don't know, Aston Martin, for example, just a random team out there, a team that's looking to progress. That Adrian Newey project, by the way, we'll do a video on that later. That Adrian Newey project is looking spicy. That's all I got to say about that. But George Russell will be weighing up his options. He'll be looking around, seeing what's going on, you know? And if by some miracle Max Verstappen leaves Red Bull, George Russell could slot into that Red Bull camp, couldn't he? And win races and win championships. Mercedes cannot drop the ball on this one. They cannot let these two drivers go. These are two drivers that I feel like will become Formula One world champions one day. I'm sure many people said that about Charles Leclerc, but he's at Ferrari, for goodness sake. What did you lot expect? But Mercedes need to get their act together. I genuinely do not understand what's wrong with them. Like, do they love their drivers? Do Mercedes even love their drivers? Because I saw a Mercedes camp that slowly stopped loving Lewis. They slowly stopped loving Lewis as soon as George Russell appeared. And now we're in a situation where Kimi Antonelli's in town. George Russell is not being spoken about enough, in my opinion. The loving that Kimi Antonelli's getting is nowhere near, way more than what George Russell's getting. George Russell must be thinking, hang on a minute. And if I'm George Russell, I am applying my services elsewhere now. I'm talking to teams right now to say, listen, Mercedes are having a laugh. And Mercedes are about to lose a top quality driver. And the mind absolutely boggles. I don't understand why we're in this situation. Comment down below, why are Mercedes doing this? Smash like on the video if you like Formula One content like this, because there'll be a hell of a lot of it, especially if there's stories like this or situations like this that keep arriving. But yeah, Formula One is the funniest sport I think I've ever encountered, because it's just decision making that takes place just doesn't make any sense to me. What on earth are Mercedes doing? If you have the answers, please let me know in the comment section down below. YouTube thinks you will like this video over here, so do make sure you smash that. And yeah, subscribe to the channel if you like Formula One content like this. Until next time, lights out.